What's up, everybody? This is episode 17 of Insurance Isn't Boring. I'm your host, Elijah, joined as always by the mustache flexing Xander Wolle. We're joined by one of our boys. His name is Cody Bender. Been in the industry a while, and we're gonna dive into a little bit of an interview. We've interviewed people who've been here for a while. We've interviewed people who've been kind of new, and so we want to kind of share some of his stories, some tips and tricks. We're going to dive into some leadership, some sales. So if you're stationary, grab a pen and a notepad. This guy is just exuding wisdom, and I think his voice will resonate with a lot of you. But how are you gentlemen doing today?
Chilling. How about you, Cody?
Doing good, man. I'm excited to be here, and thanks for asking me. I got a little trippy. I ran over to Gabby, and I was like, "The boys asked me, like, I'm doing this on Friday."
Just know we've been trying. We Xander and I have been wanting to get you on for a little bit, and so really glad that it worked out today. Excited to shed some light on you, spotlight you, and just introduce you to the people who watch. We've got listeners all over, people from different companies too. Sometimes who listen to us. I feel like Symmetry is our main audience, but yeah, man. Let's real quick before we dive in. Let's establish some street cred. Xander, I'm going to pass the mic to you, and then you can pass it to Cody. But what'd you sell this week, man? You've been having a pretty good week, I think.
I had a decent week. I'm at 10.5 for the week.
$500 in premium, y'all.
Yes, and we still got some appointments this afternoon. But even more exciting is I'm starting to see my team really catch fire. So as a team, we've done just over 22,000, and that isn't completely up to date. I think it's actually closer to 24, which is just
Whoa.
really cool that I'm only 50% of the team's production.
You're going to be knocking on the doors of those $100,000 months pretty soon, man.
That's the plan, brother. That's the plan. How
Shoot.
about you, Cody? How's your week go, man?
Yeah, it's looking at numbers now. So I have by choice, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit. Had a little bit of a slower week, spent a lot of time with Gabby intentionally, which the great thing is this business provides that opportunity. So I'm sitting on only 7 sits. I got 6 applications, and we're at just a little bit over 5,600.
Not
That's
a
not
bad
bad
week.
for seven appointments ran, $5,600 in premium, dude. Come on, man.
Yeah,
I
very
love
little
it.
IPAs right there. So probably a half 20-hour week. So it's not bad.
IPAs are not a hazy beer for what we're referring to. It's an income producing activity for y'all who don't know. I like both IPAs and income producing activities. I'm at 17 appointments booked for this week. 10 ran. Been getting abused this week, y'all. Had a lead tell me to go get a real job today. That hurt. So 10 sits, 6 sales, $8,000 in premium. And I've got, I think, 3 appointments this afternoon, and not satisfied, man. I'm chasing after Xander, shooting to hit 10,000 in premium by today. We'll see what happens. And then I've got 6 appointments tomorrow, so I'm pulling a little weekend shift to get after it.
Ooh, it's a busy Saturday, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, dude. But all things relative, $8,000 in a week would have been a stellar week to the younger version of Elijah 3 or 4 years ago. I would have been over the moon about that. And nowadays, I'm beating myself up if I'm not crossing 5 figures in a week. But not too shabby, dude.
Are you are you both, this is for both. Are you guys running appointments on Saturdays typically? Or okay.
I will. I think I said it in band, which for anyone listening is kind of like it's the most productive social media platform I've ever been a part of. It's kind of how our agency just shares wins, talks about what they're doing. Um, I writing a policy on Saturday is like an ice cream sundae. You start the week off ahead. And coming into Monday with some, already having a family protected, already having some APV on the books is just absolutely incredible. So I do. Now, I'll say this to anyone listening. If you turn around and you set a bunch of appointments for Saturday and no one shows up, look, you got kids' sports events, you got people do stuff on the weekend. And so the way I think about it is generally my no-show rate is much higher on Saturdays. But if I sit with someone it is a very big priority. If they're carving time out of their weekend for this, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to write an application.
That's been my experience too. I mean, my show rate's actually decent, but my close rate on Saturdays is higher than any other day of the week.
Yeah,
Fridays are
same.
actually my lowest day. My no-show rate's the highest on Fridays. People aren't trying to buy insurance on Fridays. That's been my experience. And so I've got some bigger goals. I don't always run appointments on the weekends, but I'm making a big push over the next like 90 days. And so I told Maggie that my Saturday afternoon is going to be booked up. But if I run 3 or 4 appointments on a Saturday and I write 2 or 3 policies, I'm glad that I did, just because you kind of start your week with a head start with some momentum, and it's not bad to make 1,500 to 2,500 on a Saturday afternoon working 3 or 4 hours. So do it because I want to.
Yeah. I think I heard Alex Ramosi say it, like one of his favorite things, and this kind of comes with the territory of being self-employed entrepreneurship, is he'll give himself an early day off on Friday. I have a lot of appointments this evening, so we'll see what happens. But he'll give himself like a half day on Friday, and then he'll just make up for that, Saturday morning, which I really like thinking about things that way, because it's like I'm in control of that.
Yep. I'll be done with work today by 4. And I'm running, let me just double check here. I think I've got 5 for tomorrow, actually. I said 6. I've got 5, all between 1 and 5 p.m. So I'm not working all day Saturday, but those few hours
Gotcha.
I'll be helping some
Gotcha.
families.
Yeah, I like that Friday mentality. I think being on the sidelines, I'm watching, shout out to Jeff Miller, right? I'll get a random phone call at 3 o'clock from him, be like, "Hey, we're going out to eat. You want to come?" I'm like, "No, I'm like working." And he's like, probably set some boundaries, right? Spend some time with family, like Friday, be done by 3. And I was like, "Oh, that's so true." And then you're refreshed for your Saturday to set your week up. But I think I'm gonna implement that. I don't run any appointments on the weekend. Never have. So I think that's the next step of implementing.
Yeah. And I only do it for a few hours. I'm not working from 9 to 5 on a Saturday. It's normally like 3 to 4 hours, and I try to consolidate all my appointments in that time block so they're not
Gotcha.
all spread out. But it just makes me better on Monday, dude. I come into Monday, I've got some production on the board. Those EFT deposits are hitting Monday afternoon from the work I did on Saturday, and so it just feels good, man. I run a better appointment on Monday when I've already helped a couple families, and so I do it for my mental. That's the main thing, man. But Cody, for the people who don't know you, brother, you're somebody who a lot of the people that we've had on, they this is their first experience in insurance. You've been in insurance. How long you been licensed, man?
So I've been in the industry. Technically, on my first insurance job, I was 16. So everyone, it's so funny. You hear from the stage, you hear be like, "Yeah, I'd never wanted to," or "I had this dream of being an insurance agent," and they're like being sarcastic, and I'm like, "Oh, that was kind of me, right?" so, so I kind of hate that joke that everyone says.
What'd they have you doing at 16, bro? You couldn't even get a license at
Dude,
that point.
yeah, I was filing paperwork, man. It just needed a job. I was filing paper, listening to now it wasn't life insurance side, so it looked completely different. It was business, auto, home, so property and casualty, and then went off to college, came back, and 23 I got my license officially. So right after college,
Nice.
jumped right back into the industry, and it's had me in a chokehold since. That's for sure.
Hopefully a chokehold that you want to be in. How long have you been with Symmetry Financial Group, man?
Yeah, May 2024. So
Okay.
we're,
Coming
excuse
up
me,
on a year, dude.
coming up on a year. Yeah, coming up on 365 days. It's pretty crazy. It's been best decision I ever made. Best decision.
And why is that? Yeah, kind of what was it you were looking for in an IMO that Symmetry had? Because there's a lot of IMOs out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the best decision I ever made because it's so scary to start over. And that's something whoever, like all of us could relate to. I don't care if you're coming from a restaurant to what, if you're coming here, you're quote unquote starting over, whether you were successful or you were looking for your first opportunity. And it's sticking it out, man. The first year I think is always going to be the hardest. Even if you're finding success, it's new, it's change. So to know all right, I got through the first year, it's the domino effect, right? I've made connections. I'm surrounding with the right people who are investing their time equity into me.
Hmm.
And that's really why it's been the best decision. I've never, so 23 to 29, 6 years, no one has ever offered me their time equity like I have found here.
Wow.
And that is, I think, something that is somewhat, at least on my end, has always been slept on. And it's taken me some time to reflect and realize that um, y- the time you both have given me, but there's no financial gain whatsoever
Yeah.
that I provide either of you.
Yeah.
Right? It's a testimony of what I'm saying is through the both of you. I mean, Xander, I've said it to you in the Zoom room multiple times. Like I've never seen someone, and this is really for you too, Elijah, but give so much time to people because you want to see them win. Yet there is no compensation for either of you. It's unique,
Yeah.
man. It really is.
That's one of the reasons we started this podcast, dude, is just to kind of give people a resource to plug into and listen to. But I've been with Symmetry now a little over 6 years. I got my license in May of 2018. And the leadership and development side of this company has been here ever since I came here, and it's only gotten better. It's really just in the fabric of who we are as a company, because if more people win, the company gets better. And it's a company built by agents for agents. And we joke around, we say Symmetry is a leadership and development company, and we just happen to sell insurance. And that's the truth, man. Like that's what we're about, because if you as an entrepreneur are not growing yourself as a leader, it's going to be really difficult to scale a business, but also attract leaders. And if you're a five, it's going to be really difficult to attract an eight, nine, and 10. And so you have to elevate your mindset, your skill set, your communication, your leadership if you want to attract those winners, man. Eagles aren't hanging around with ducks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And kind of to your point, coming up on that 1 year anniversary, I was saying this last night on the new hire onboarding call. Like this business gets more fun the longer you've been here. Like the other day, I got a commission from Mutual of Omaha, who I don't write a ton of business with anymore. I was like, what is this coming from? And it was from a policy that I wrote last year. And it was
Mm,
like, oh, that is truly money that I had no idea was coming my direction. Um, and it's just I didn't have to do anything except help the family way back when, right?
right,
So
right.
it gets more fun the longer you've been around.
I agree.
Yeah, that back end pay, I'm getting excited
Yeah.
to
Yeah, you
really
got
see.
some
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
dude.
sure. It would take a couple months, right? It took me a month or so to really kind of figure out what the hell I'm doing over here. But yeah, it's I'm excited. It'll be cool.
Let's dig into that a little bit, because you talked about it earlier. The idea of starting over is super scary. And um, what was like your first 90 days like, man? Was it like drinking from a fire hose, culture shock? Like, tell me about it.
Yeah. Not to sound egotistical, right? But I or make excuses for myself. I really think if you're in the industry, you almost have a disadvantage. The reality I came in here and I'm used to Elijah coming up to me and just saying, "Hey, beat this rate." So it's a competitive field, but it's based on premium.
Mm,
Lower you go, the more clients you have. Here, of course, you want to help the family, right? Get the most coverage for the least amount. But the reality is this is a very emotional side, and that was really difficult for me to tap into.
mm,
Um, to exercise that empathy and like to actually one know how to care and ask the right questions just to see if there's even a need.
mm.
So my first month was a tough one because I would come into you and I would say, "Hey, it's $40 a month." But they don't see any value in it, right?
Yeah.
But plugging in, asking the questions, I'm so thankful for the Millers, man. Kimberly and Jeff, they have um, put a lot of time into me, and
Mm,
they've picked me up when I've fallen. And it's been, I would say, 90. Once I hit 90 days, I was like, oh, I get it. There's a system here. Let me plug into it. Let me actually work the system. And since then, man, it's been a game changer.
I think Jeff and Kimberly notice that you were somebody worth investing in, because they don't give everybody on their team the same amount of time. And so you as a leader, if you're building a team, you got to get good at managing your time. And one way that you can identify people worth investing in is based off of movement. We joke around and say you can't steer a parked car. You were doing stuff. You were plugging in, you were engaged, you were investing in leads, you were making a bunch of dials. And I think the activity is one way that you kind of popped your head up of like, hey, I'm doing some stuff. Let me get some help. And we're always willing to help anybody on our team, but and people not on our teams. Dude, I get agents calling me from other hierarchies, and I'm always willing to help, but it can be difficult to coach someone without any sort of motion. Um, you can't steer a parked car. And so
Is that hard to set boundaries? Right? You're having someone come to you just to bleed you out of all that energy, and then right, do you feel like a bad guy when you shut them down, or what's that like?
Xander,
That's a great question.
yeah, what do we know about energy vampires, man? Because that's what you're describing, Cody.
And you cannot hang around an energy vampire for long, or you're gonna leave that conversation drained. So kind of piggybacking off of what Elijah just said, right? You're a very positive guy. You're plugging in and doing the things that Jeff and Kimberly are telling you to do. And so from a leader's standpoint, if someone is doing everything that I told them to do and they're not finding success, I feel a lot of ownership in that. Um, that's still something I'm working on, because you can't take 100% responsibility if you're not the one on the phones. But if they're doing what you ask them to do, or you recommend they do, right? It is a volunteer army here, and they're not finding success, I think you'll find, particularly at Symmetry, I can't speak for other companies, but you'll find that there's a lot of people who are willing to be like, okay, let's dig into this. Where are we going wrong? Because you should be finding success based on what you're telling me. Um, with people who are outside of, your direct hierarchy, also back to what Elijah was saying, dude, I love seeing people win. Like, there is nothing better than seeing someone who is in the pit of despair. They're on the struggle bus, and then they make a breakthrough, and suddenly they're on the receiving end of two, three, four, $5,000 in commissions, and like that changes everything for them. Everything. Suddenly, the belief is there. They know they can do this. Suddenly, the water bill, or their windshield's cracked or something, like that's not a big deal, dude. That gets me amped up. And so I probably flex a little bit too much helping agents that I have no financial incentive in. But I'm happy to do it, because I also
Right.
believe in what comes around goes around. And so at the same time, maybe they'll resonate better with an agent on my team. And so if I'm not looking at it as a transaction when I'm helping them, but I also know that if I have an agent who is having struggles, and there's an agent that, again, I had no financial incentive in, and I helped them get past something, they're probably going to be more likely to help out and say something to one of my agents if that need ever arises.
Hmm. I was told early on in this business by the guy, his name's Grant, who brought me in, and he would often say, questions show growth and statements show problems. And so if you're the type of person who calls to get help and all you're doing is complaining, these leads suck, the people won't show up, my client got declined, or I don't feel like working today, can you motivate me? That's an energy vampire right there. But if somebody's reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, what does your schedule look like? How many leads are you taking? What kinds of questions are you asking in the appointment to improve close ratio?" Questions show growth. And early on in this business, there was people who invested in me, man, who had no financial incentive to do so. Just because when I reached out to them, I was asking questions. I wasn't calling to bitch about the company and what wasn't working. And so
Mm.
I popped my head up and I identified myself. I was also plugged in. I was going to events. I was doing the thing. I needed to make a couple small changes. And one really pivotal conversation I had was with a guy named David Kushner, who is an agency director with our company. His son is actually popping off right now with music. If you've ever heard Dave Kushner, he's big on Spotify right now. That's his dad. His dad works with Symmetry. And I called him years ago. This was back in like 2016. And Dave Kushner was always on the leaderboards, always doing over 10 or 12 grand in a week. And I called him and I was like, hey, what do I need to do to get the results you're working. And he asked me a couple questions. He was like, how much are you investing in leads? How much or how many appointments are you running? And I told him, and he's like, Elijah, you're part-time, man. That's the first thing he said. He said, once you get over $1,000 invested in leads in a week, we can talk. And so he gave me some homework and he told me what he was doing. And I'll never forget that. I haven't talked to him in a while, but he doesn't know how impactful of a conversation that was for me. And he doesn't gain anything from sharing what's working. I also didn't talk his ear off for 2 hours. It was about a 7-minute conversation that I got everything I needed to get
Wow.
after it. So that's just our culture, man. We're a culture of helping develop people and help them get what they want out of this business. But it's hard to turn an energy vampire into a leader. They have to kind of self-identify to do so. But yeah, man. So Woody, let's dig into some leadership stuff, man, because you're not just selling, Cody, are you? You got a team growing. How many people you got so far, man? What's the team looking like on a monthly basis?
So yeah, we got 5 people right now. Then we have about 7 in licensing, and
Nice.
just going from there, man. I'm not taking it slow, but I'm not taking it super quick. I'm just going at the pace we're going at, and
Yeah.
by the
You're
time I'm
running your
40,
race.
man, yep, we'll look back at 40 and be like, okay, it was all worth it. So
Absolutely. What made you want to build
yeah.
a business here, dude? Because you had an agency before. What made you want to build a
Mhm.
business here, man?
Yeah, I think the reason I came over here was to own another business again. I wasn't gonna come here just to be in the field the entire time, and at the end of the day, I needed to quickly replace a 6-figure income to keep our house, to pay the car bills, etc. Right.
Mm.
So from the get-go, that was always in the vision. Not mad at the process that I went through. I wish I would have started earlier. That's for sure. Just like everyone, it seems, tell myself, oh, let me get good at producing first, right? So
We hear
the
that a
vision
lot.
looking backwards is always the best. But yeah, it's I think want to be 40, want to put kids through college and be able to provide for the family. Want to, Gabby was trying to go to PA school, so I want to support her without having a job. And I
Mm.
think it comes from developing other leaders. When I make it not about me, but about someone, I think you also find the success. And again, I keep spotlighting both of you, but I'm lucky enough to literally see it daily through the both of you. So it's been a fun journey, man. It really has been. I'm thankful. Really am.
I don't know who said it. It might have been one of those old sales gurus from way back when. I forget his name, but it might have been what's his face? It'll come to me later when it's no longer relevant. But he said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll have everything you want. And you're making it
Okay.
about other people. And that was a mistake I made early on, man. I was recruiting because I saw dollar signs. I had dollar signs for eyeballs. If I saw an agent coming on my team, I was like, I'm gonna make $1,000 a month off this
Mm.
guy. And I was a toxic leader. I was leading from selfishness, and I was more focused on what can I get from this person joining my team versus how can I help them get what they want. Totally different vantage point of leadership. Can you speak to that,
Yeah, I
Xander?
think
Because
it's
I feel like you do that so well, man, right out the gate, dude.
I I think what you're talking about here is a universal truth. Look at like Elon Musk, Jensen Huang, Jeff Bezos. All of these people are CEOs and owners of Fortune 500 companies. They all together, none of them owns more than 20% of the company that they started. And so for all of them, that means they have created billions of dollars of wealth for other people. And they also understand the universal truth of if you help make other people money, you're going to win too. And that has been something that I've tried to subscribe to from day one. Like I have over rotated. I've talked about this. I've spent too much time doing too much hand holding, too much babying. That hasn't hurt me. Yeah, maybe it's slowed me down a little bit, but they know how much I care. They see me continuing to develop as a leader. And the reality is, when they win, I win. And the company is set up in a way that supports that. And so, yeah, that's really I tried to lead with service the same way I do when I am talking to a family. I want to figure out if they actually need this and then figure out, let's put a plan in place to make sure that, God forbid something does happen, you're going to be okay. And you do the same thing on the agent side and helping other people get what they want, you're going to get taken care of in the process. So it helped having some warm market to start, because like I already knew and cared about
Yeah.
those people. And then I just have done the same thing with cold market, and it's worked out pretty well so far.
Is it hard to navigate? Right, you're in the field, but you also are leading a team, and you only have 24 hours in a day. What does that look like?
I mean, so there's kind of a great question. I feel like you're the one doing the interview.
Yeah, sorry.
There's, no, I
It
love
is a
it.
good question.
There's two parts to that, and I kind of, not to go too full circle here. The other day, Chris Cook, he is in charge of the entire agency. He's a 130, but my upline, Mark Neubauer, is also a 130. And so Chris no longer really has, I guess he has, I don't think he has a financial incentive in my success anymore. He listened to the episode last week and he called me up yesterday. He did not have to do this. And this is what I love about Symmetry. It's like Elijah said it best. It's from the top down. He called me. He was like, bro, you need an admin. Like, I listened to the episode. You ain't got no time. You need someone to help out. Pretend your contract's 5% lower and then use that 5% to pay them. And he did not need to do that because he did it because he wanted to, because he cares about people. And just grateful to be part of a team where that is the culture. But yeah, man, it has been a lot. Coming back to Alex Hormozy, there was I don't know if it was a short or something that I saw of his where he was like, lock in, see if you can work for 12 hours a day for 30 days straight. And you're going to find two things out. Number one, you're not dead. And number two, you're going to know you have that sixth gear that you can kick into. And so I know that I kind of similar to what you were saying, Cody, I'm in a season of growth. And so I've told Maya, I'm like, I love you. But I'm going to be really busy. Like I'm trying to build something I'm trying to pour a foundation right now. And so if I might not be around as much. Like we are in the same house, but like I'm going to be in the office working to try and juggle my production and having a team. And Mark says it best. You got to get out of balance to get into balance. And so I've definitely gotten out of balance. Great thing is I love everybody I work with. I love what we do. So it doesn't feel like I'm burning myself out. I know that if I keep this pace up forever, I will definitely burn out. But you can't get back into that balance until you get out of it. And so that's kind of how I've been thinking about it of like, dude, I'm happy to work 12 hours a day if it means that in my 30s, I don't have to work at all.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that.
I screwed up doing that, and I did burn out. And being burnt out is so hard to pull yourself out of. And some people never do, man. They just burn out and then they have to go do something else. And I think what I realized is building a business with Symmetry is just like building a building. The longest piece of the process is laying the foundation. And you'll see a construction site blocked off, construction workers doing stuff. And for months, dude, sometimes years, it doesn't look like any progress is happening because what they're doing is they're going so deep and laying such a deep, solid foundation that once that foundation is laid, dude, the building goes up in like 2 or 3 months. But that's the longest portion of it. And that should take the longest because if you don't have a solid foundation of leaders, of systems, of money stacked up, like that building could fall down and disappear pretty quick, man. And that happens to some people, but the cool part is you can always rebuild it. And a lot of people have done that and experienced that. And I think there's a lot of value in that because you now have the experience of what not to do or what to do different on the second go around. And a lot of people, man, the team that helps get them to agency owner is not the team that gets them to agency director or to 130. And so on that journey to the top of the company, there's several rebuilding phases that a lot of people go through, man. It's just part of the journey. But the cool part is there have been people who've hit the top of our company, man, in 4 years. which is nuts to think about. That's not my journey, but some people have done it. Most people, it takes a few years longer than that. It's just cool to see what's possible. But building the foundation is you should focus a lot on that and identifying leaders and developing what we call like your core four people that you spend the most time with on a weekly basis, because you can't give everything to everybody. That's how you'll get burnt out.
Yeah. Edward was talking about that, right? He's like, there's 20% of people getting 80% of the results. And it might not feel fair, but it actually is fair to give that 20% of people 80% of your time. And then the other people, kind of what you were talking about, Cody, of like, how do you figure out who it is that you invest time in?
Mhm.
Invest time in the people, and you're one of those people for Jeff, right? Who's doing the right things, who's getting results, who's constantly working on themselves. So when you call him, I bet he answers the phone, right? As opposed to if you weren't doing anything he was recommending you do, you're just calling him up to say, like Elijah said, these leads suck, these clients, yada, yada, yada. Suddenly, maybe you're not getting that phone call answered first ring every time, right?
Dude, not to drink the Kool-Aid, but I'm drinking it right now.
I got Kool-Aid in here, homie.
Listen, listen, I have worked every freaking vendor under the sun in this insurance industry. Our sales team, we were doing 8 to 10K a month in lead spend per
Wow.
month. Dude, these leads are golden. It is a Willy Wonka golden ticket compared. Like, seriously, if you don't like him, go out. I will message me. I'll give you every vendor there is, and I'll give you our account managers. Good luck.
Done
Like,
it too.
good luck.
I can also speak to that. I think I genuinely couldn't do what I do without leads, man. I just interviewed a team on Wednesday night from Primerica. And dude, if you can make it at a company like that with no leads, low comp, low leadership, and one product, I think this is literally greener pastures. But I've worked other lead vendors, man. I've even worked live transfer leads where they have a client on the
Yeah.
phone ready to buy, dude. And those are way worse than the
Dude,
leads we
though,
have.
they're freaking dogs. Oh my goodness. And it's like $75 for a live transfer for one
Yeah.
lead for them to
Yeah.
hang up on you. And there's
But
no refund. Because as soon as they hand it off to you, it's solidified.
Mhm.
It's whack, dude. It is
Yeah.
whack.
Yep, dog water leads. Go out and try them out. But if you want some leads that are, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sure there's other companies like that. If they don't have leads, how the heck do you get business?
All referrals,
Beat the
man.
bushes.
Beat the
Oh,
bushes.
really?
Friends, family,
Oh,
neighbors, people in the grocery store line. Like, and I told this team because there was 4 of them, and they've been there for a year, dude. A whole year. They didn't just start. They've been licensed since last May. And I told him, like, y'all are actually entrepreneurs, because if you can, I mean, we are too, but like what they do is way more difficult because they've got an insurance license. They have a singular product, which is term insurance. And then you're told to go make a list of 100 people you think you could sell to. And they somehow stuck it out, but we got them onboarded, man. About to change some lives.
man. I think you've reached your capacity, so you could send a couple to me, and then I could help them. Okay.
Dude, Primerica has over 30,000 agents on their team. Over 30,000. So, like, as a company, they're way bigger than us. I don't know how they're recruiting these people. They start them at a 25% commission rate. You cap out at, I think, an 80 or an 85, maybe a 90. And the only way to get a promotion there is by building a team. You can't get a promotion off your own production. They have one product, which is term, and most of the time it has to go fully underwritten. And so when I started showing them our promotion guidelines and how we start agents at an 80, we've got a bunch of different carriers that we can work with. But um, the main thing is we have leads. So you can continue to work referrals if you want, but eventually you're going to run out of friends and family to talk to. And so the leads that we have make the ability to sell week in and week out possible, to where I'm not wondering, am I going to make money this week? It's just a matter of how much, how many families am I going to help?
I like talking to people who have already indicated an interest in what it is that we have to offer. And then, so that's kind of step one of that. And then step two is, well, we don't just have, we can actually have a consultative approach with them of like, what do you really need? As opposed to, well, this is what we got. So either that works or I can't help you. Right. And I think Elijah, you got contact or you got connected with this group of individuals because they had a bunch of people they couldn't help. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. This lady found me online because she was trying to get coverage for her dad and she couldn't help him. And anytime that they had a client looking for whole life or looking for accidental, or they just couldn't get approved for term due to health, she would send them my way. And every time her name's Kiesia. We might have to get her on here in the future. But I was like, Kiesia, what are you doing? Like, why are you just like sending another insurance agent business when you have the same license I do? And so that's what started the conversation. Sent her some videos about what we do. First thing she said is, "This sounds too good to be true." And I was like, "We should have a conversation," because that's what I thought when I found out
Yep.
about this
Same.
thing, man.
Me too. I was
Yeah.
like, this is you scamming me.
There's no way. There's no way the grass is that green.
Yeah,
Dude.
it is green, man. We got sod over here.
Just to like you, it would have been very easy for you, Elijah, to be like, cool, you know what? Kiesia's her name. Kiesia, I'm your go-to guy. Anytime you or someone on your team have somebody that you can't help, just send me the business. Right. And that would have been that short-sighted, cool, I can, pad my APV this month. Instead, because you are the, lead with service individual that you are, you're like, hey, I think this could actually be a pretty good opportunity for you and your team, opening their eyes. And okay, on the front end, we might have to help them on, you're gonna have to get them contract with all the carriers, gonna have to get them to understand those. Like that's gonna take a time investment on your side. But having that long-term view, if suddenly you have, I think it was like 5 or 6 total people coming onto your team from her team, that's going to benefit you more in the long run, and it's going to benefit them more in the long run. And so kind of back to the, hey, if you make other people's lives easier, yours is going to get better too. That's right in line with that.
Mm.
So
Sometimes
I'm
you just need
excited
to
for you,
give
man.
people some hope,
Yeah,
man. You
dude,
hand someone some hope and you let them run.
that's
You
what it's
know,
about,
I
man.
think
Like the other thing too, man, is there's a lot of insurance agents who are with a company that's not good enough to where they can do it full time. And they can only do it on the side, part time, and then they have to have a full time job to have the stable income. And that's not my story, dude. I was part time my first year just because I was in college, and then I've been full time ever since. I've never had another job paying my bills. Like I've been here long enough too where I've gotten to kind of peek behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz scene type stuff, and there's no the shoe. I'm not waiting for the shoe to drop, man. Like there's no catch. That's the other question a lot of people ask is like, what's the catch? I'm like, well, you got to work and you got to invest in leads, and if you don't sell anything, you don't get paid. Does all that sound fair? And so, like that's what it is. And so if we can help agents out there who saw the vision, because I mean, I guess these companies are really good at selling the dream, but then people get a dose of reality once they've been there and they're like, this is not what I was told it was. And I don't have the support and the culture sucks and I can't make as much money as they said I could. But I think anything is possible here, man. We've got people in our company, dude, who are making over $1 million a year and they did not have previous experience in insurance. They also haven't been here for 40 years. Like there's people doing that who've been here for 8 years and 9 years. And so knowing what's possible gets me excited about bringing people in, because that's what this is about, dude, is not only changing lives, but like changing the trajectory of someone's family tree. And if I could
100%.
play a small part in helping them do that, because I'm not going to do it for them, right? We don't make people win. We just identify winners and then plug them into a winning system. And if they go follow that system, they're going to kick some ass and change their life. And that is freaking addicting to be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to Cody's question. It's like, why do you help people who you have no financial, you don't stand to have any financial gain from? It's because of that. It's like, I just like seeing people win. And I think that's a very common, statistically, it is an improbability that there's such a large group of people who are in one place that feel that way. Symmetry's managed to cultivate that very well. And I'm curious, Cody, for you, I have a hard time believing that you didn't have any leadership skills when you got here, just because from the first time I ever talked to you, you were just very wise, leading with service. I have noticed in my own life that the self-development that has been required of me, self-imposed required to be successful here, has had outsized returns in areas in my life that have nothing to do with insurance. I'm a better boyfriend, son, friend, everything from all of the leadership development that we work so heavily on. I'm curious if you've seen the same in your own life.
Oh, 100%. I know we talked about it a little bit off camera, but had I think 13, 14 W-2, so payroll. And
Wow.
right, just communicating with both of you, I was like, oh, I thought I was a leader of my business, but the reality is I was just a manager who leveraged a paycheck over someone's head, right? There's no leadership that I truly had because I also I didn't have someone giving me their time equity. And I'm not pointing fingers. I also didn't make myself available for someone to invest into me. I came here not expecting any of that, but it slapped me in the face, right? I think you just said, Elijah, this is more of a self-development company that happens to sell life insurance. So I started to take that serious, which I actually think made my initial process here a lot harder. I think plugging into self-development turned my life upside down
Mm.
because I realized that my ego wasn't in control anymore and I have a lot to work on. But to answer your question, Xander, by not quitting and getting through those trenches. Elijah, you should give me that metaphor you gave me a couple days ago about a cow and an ox, I believe. But by continuing to go forward, yeah, man, I call my mom. And that sounds crazy, but I call my mom. I talk to my dad. And not that we didn't, but now it's a priority. I want to love Gabby well, right? My little brother, I had him move in with me. Like, I want to serve him now. And that's not to be cliche and corny, but it is because I can see the leaders that I want to be and I'm watching them do the same. Um, and it's a trickle effect, man. If, like you're saying, you surround yourself by people who treat others well and lead from the front, you can't help. You're going to do the same. It's impossible not to. And if you're not willing to do so, then those are the ones that just isn't a fit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
It's
I
not a
hope
good
that
fit for
answers. I was
everybody.
kind of lot of yapping, but hopefully that
No,
I
goes
love
with
I
it.
what you
think
asked me.
it's just it's like the ripple. We talk about the ripple effect is you come here to develop yourself to do better running a business, but then you realize that that's actually the rest of your life that improves when you do that. And that I again, when I got here, I was like, Jim Jones, Colt, I don't know what's going on. Everybody is doing way too well financially and in way too good of a mood. Like, what drugs are they on? And the reality is they have a healthy dose of symmetry in their life.
Click the link below to use my user discount.
Yeah. And so it's just been really beautiful to see. And again, it gets back and you see someone make that breakthrough. Maybe they were an energy vampire and you told them to go read the energy bus, or they're feeling like that foundation's taken a real long time to become established. And so, okay, go read the slight edge, right? Become that water hyacinth lily. And like before you know it, your team blows up, your business blows up in front of you, and you've really got something cool cooking. Um, it's really hard to be in a bad mood with all that good stuff going on.
Yeah, dude. Cody, what's been the best book you've read so far, man? We do a book of the month as a team. Personal development's a huge priority for us. What's been the most? I mean, you've been here a year, so you've gone through several. Been the
Yeah,
best one
I
you've read, man?
have, and I'm real bad with titles. So let me look at my little library. The Big Leap, right there. That's what I was
Ooh.
looking for. That has been the best book that I have read. It's all about right upper limit. And that is something even to this day that I do struggle with. Is that upper limit, right? I hit, and yeah, it's so good,
Yeah,
man.
that's a good one.
I've talked to you both, right? Hit top producer for whatever that means in the month of January and February. I literally did not work, right? Because that's not who I believe to be. So I had to get myself back to what's comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, if there's anyone starting today's day one or thinking about it, I would crack open that book so quick. Yeah,
How
it's done a lot
important
for me.
has reading those books been in your development here? Because that's one piece of the puzzle that I see a lot of people. I say this humbly because this was me as well. I was like, Mark, how's reading a book going to help me sell more insurance, man? And that just shows my immaturity and where my mind was on things when I got here. But how has reading helped your business? Like, has that been a big factor to it? It sounds like it has been.
Yeah, they're shoulder to shoulder, and I think that's for everyone. If you're watching someone succeed, you know they're reading. And if they're going through one of those weeks or the months where they're a little bit in the trenches, you know, they're not taking their daily reading serious. I do
That's me.
literally think those two coincide with one another and they walk
Mm.
together.
I think you're right on that, bro. Because I skipped my 10 pages this week.
Readers are
So
leaders.
so did
True.
I. As I'm saying, read.
And
Anyone
I
listening, if you want to follow along the book of the month with us, this thing could fit in my pocket. But Power of Your Potential, John Maxwell, he's got a ton of great stuff. Leadership is the only other one I've read by him. I need to probably add some more to my library. But yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's you could tell when someone hasn't been reading because the way that they talk to you when they call you up, everything's bad. And it's like, well, you're probably not listening to people who have told you about how life should be. And I don't know. I just it's weird. It's weird how intertwined those two are, and you don't understand it until you've done it. And then it's so obvious when someone isn't. It's just hilarious. Like I know Mark was sitting there, he's like, "Well, I know Xander ain't reading." Um, you know what I mean?
With the both of you who have found right, whether you're gonna say or not, Uber success here. Why are all the little things so important? Like not even like reading, of course, but that's still little with it, you know. But and there's a ton of other little things that are saying, hey, this is what we
Mm.
do on a day-to-day basis.
I'll
Why is
tell you,
plugging
man.
in so important?
I'll tell you, and I'm going to plug 2 books to answer this question. I'm going to plug Atomic Habits by James Clear, I believe, and I'm going to plug The Slight Edge. Those 2 books explain really well how the biggest differences that are made and the most amount of results are a byproduct of doing enough of the small things right. And stacking those wins, but also stacking those habits, whether it be it just for our industry, whether it be personal development, so reading your 10 pages a day, whether it be making dials every day, running appointments every day. You're not going to drastically change your physique and your health by going to the gym 4 times. You know, you got to do it consistently over the course of years to make it happen. And so you'll have a compounding effect. In the Slight Edge, it makes this illustration of an airplane. And if a pilot is flying and they change the degree, the angle that they're flying by like 2 degrees, they're going to end up on another continent. Just because over the course of a distance, you're in a totally different destination, man. And so it's stacking small things consistently that will make a really big difference. It's not always the solution's not always in doing something completely different. It's sometimes making one small tweak or several small tweaks that you stick with over time. But reading has been a game changer, dude. From learning how to communicate better to understanding different personality types to understanding the 5 voices and what it's like to be on the other side of me to getting sales training and listening to people who have been in the game for a long time. Like when you read a book in a month, you're getting the decade of experience and knowledge from that author who wrote it, and you're getting it in a month. And so it just condenses that time frame of what it took them to learn. You're getting it in 200 or 300 pages. And so that's why we focus on that.
It's rare because if you look at the news, social media, any of these things, a lot of times these people have a financial interest in making you think that like it was just an overnight success. And 99.9% of the time, like what is it called? Think and Grow Rich, right? It talks about, Napoleon Hill. That book has stood the test of time. It's just like the Slight Edge. A lot of these principles are repeated, and so it's like, well, where are you getting them? Right, from books. of doing the same thing over and over and over. Don't take no for an answer. Keep doing it over and over and over again. And then you look up one day and you're like, holy smokes, I'm doing this thing. And the success might feel overnight. Back to the slight edge, the water hyacinth lily. If anyone's not familiar with that, it starts out about a speck and it doubles in size every single day. So if you look at it over the course of a month, it's probably it's this little speck, it's getting bigger and bigger. And then it isn't until like day 28 or 29 that this thing is half of a pond. And then all of a sudden that next day, the entire pond is the water hyacinth lily. And so everyone always focuses on that last day of like, I just saw that overnight explosion, as opposed to all the time that went in on the front end, cultivating things to get to a point where you can have that overnight explosion. And that has been the biggest takeaway for me. And I've seen it in my own business. It feels like all of a sudden there are, 8 to 10 people in a Zoom room. Both of you guys are in there because I love hanging out with you, running at the same goals. And I've had multiple people on my team. This has been a fairly recent development, like post conference. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be in that Zoom room 10 to 12 hours a day. Let's see what happens. And I now have agents reaching out to me being like, dude, I have learned more in the last 2 weeks than I learned in the previous 6 months. And surprise, surprise, everybody's winning.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It's like what both of you are saying. Your metaphor, Elijah, it starts out small, but if you could be consistent in the reading, then you could go be consistent in booking 6 appointments for tomorrow. And even though you got no-show 12 people in a row, then when it comes to your 18th sit, all of a sudden you have 4 in a row. So those little wins. That makes sense. I like that.
Yeah.
Starts with the reading, man. That's crazy.
It does. It does. Somebody told me readers are learners and learners are earners, and I'm trying to earn, man. So I got to be developing myself and doing that daily. Sometimes I miss it, man, and it's typically the days or the weeks that I miss it or I don't prioritize it that I don't do as good as I did the weeks that I did prioritize it. So I
Easy to
like it.
skip. It's so easy
It
to
is.
skip. Oh, I got
It
a
is.
9:30 appointment. I'm just gonna go right into that. I don't have time to read 10 pages. It's not gonna matter. And then the next day, oh well, I didn't do it yesterday. I was okay. Like I'll be okay not doing it today. And then all of a sudden 2 weeks has gone by. You've had a crappy 2 weeks and you're sitting there wondering what the heck went wrong. Your mindset is in the dumpster and it's like, dude, just open this sucker up. 10 pages. What's it gonna take you? Maybe 10 minutes if you're a slow reader.
Dude, high school with me would be so mad listening to this because I hated reading.
So Cody, I mean, we could talk all afternoon, man, but for the people out there who are listening and maybe you're not with our company and you're like, dude, this guy's awesome. I'm trying to be on his team. How do people get in touch with you, man?
That's a great question. I think it starts with giving this a good little follow and leave a review, and then one of us three will reach out to that person. I think that's the easiest
Bet.
and safest way on all ends, man,
Are you on
to land
social
some
media at all?
contact. I have it, but I'm not on it, so that's a no.
Yeah, whenever I'm trying to put my head down and focus, I delete Instagram. It's just a time suck. But
Mhm.
cool. Well, give us a follow, comment, and reach out to us if you want to get plugged in with Cody. And he may not hire you if you're not the right person, but we'll see. Could change your life.
No energy vampires.
Yeah, forget y'all.
Hey, thank you both for having me. A lot of fun.
Yeah, dude.
Appreciate it.
Good to have you, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, Cody.